Hi there, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast. Not your typical one. I'm going to be taking questions from my Facebook group. I did this before, and it was a lot of fun. I plan to do things like this in my Patreon, which I'm currently starting to upgrade. It's long story short, I'll stay away from that. But anyway, I asked questions the other day in my Facebook group, which is ROCKFILE's Room. If you're not a member, please join. And a few people asked me questions, and I said I would answer them that night. Well, we had snowmageddon the last 2 days here in Alaska. And I know people go, you got snow in Alaska? But I've lived here for over a year now, and this is the most snow we got in 24 hours in the year that I've lived here. It was quite a bit, actually. But the city and the borough took care of things greatly. I got to work today a little late, had to run a political forum with 4 different candidates. It's been a full day. But anyway, I promised to answer these questions, and I'm going to do it before bed. So here we are. First question, it comes from Ruben Durham, good friend of mine, actually. If I say amazing guitarist that doesn't get enough credit, who is the first person you think of? Now, I told Ruben when he posted this that I could do a whole podcast on this, but the first person that jumped to my mind was Guthrie Gowan. I discovered him. I had heard him before in like the Aristocats and stuff, but I had never really put 2 and 2 together with his name and his talent until I saw him with Steven Wilson. And I think the guy's otherworldly. I understand why he's not in a Steven Wilson type band. I understand why he's kind of doing his own thing. Dude, one of the first guitarists, I would say, not that he sounds anything like him, but kind of like Steve Vai. He comes from somewhere else. He just the stuff he comes up with and how he puts it together. So anyway, the first name I thought of was Guthrie Gowan. I think he's incredible. I actually don't listen to enough of his music, in my opinion. Nolan Hodges asked, can I get my bands on your podcast? Yes, I am just finishing. It's taken quite a while, but as you can hear, this is in my home studio. It doesn't sound too bad. Still working on the processing, but we're getting there. Anyway, I've been testing the Zoom so I can do some interviews and stuff with bands and such, and that begins tomorrow, actually. I will probably post this after I do this, but I'm interviewing 2 members of the band Soen tomorrow from Sweden. So that'll be probably the final test of my system to make sure everything works great. And then, yes, Nolan, I'll get in touch with you and we'll do bands. Michelle Lee Norton-Jones, someone I've known since kindergarten, asked who was my favorite kindergarten classmate. Well, I've got to be honest, I don't think about kindergarten much and haven't in a long time. I really barely remember elementary school. Middle school is starting to get fuzzy. High school and college, pretty clear. I guess because, especially college, I'm pretty much the same person I was, or at least I think I am. So as far as that goes, I was just getting to know Rich Jones, but it was definitely Lee Cox. For those that don't know, I grew up outside of Atlanta in Gwinnett County. Stone Mountain could be seen from our backyard. I was actually in Lawrenceville, but went to school in Lilburn. And my kindergarten was in a Bethesda Baptist Church. Wasn't it? Yeah, it was Bethesda. Okay. And Lee Cox and I would chase Michelle Norton and Tracy Price around inside and out with these like wooden cars and stuff. Girls still had cooties back then. It was kindergarten, but they were kind of our girlfriends to our boyfriends. And Lee and I would go home and discover music. We were really into music back then. But I knew I was also hanging out with a few other guys that I would hang out through elementary school, high school, up into adulthood. But that's the first one that comes to mind. Michelle was Lee. And of course, I remember you and Tracy clearly. We were like the 4 Musketeers. So today I posted that I hadn't gotten around to doing this yet. It's been a very busy couple of days, but Ruben took another swing at another question. What movie soundtrack introduced you to an artist that you now love, but might have missed otherwise? I saw this afternoon, and it's really racked my brain. The earliest one I can think of is the Bee Gees. I had probably heard them before Saturday Night Fever, but I didn't really get into them till Saturday Night Fever. And then when I went back to albums like Main Course and on back to the early stuff like Massachusetts and all that stuff, I really discovered how great a recording artist they were, a great band they were. So I became a big Bee Gees fan. I can't say I listen to them a lot now, but for a long time, they were one of my favorite bands. Not so much the disco era, but the stuff right before that. I think they were very creative. And it was the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack that got me into them, I would say. Probably not what you were looking for. The first soundtrack I actually thought of, though, not that it answered the question, was the Crow soundtrack. What was that, 94? Something like that. I just remember like The Cure had a song on there that wasn't on anything else. There was 9 Inch Nails on there. There's a few other bands. Stone Temple Pilots, when they were brand new, was on there. That was a one that I got some, or had some favorite bands already that had interesting songs on there. That was a soundtrack that stuck out to me. There's got to be another artist that I discovered on a soundtrack, but that's escaping me. That will actually, both of those about talented musicians that don't get enough credit and artists I've discovered in different ways. Both of those will be podcasts. Those are great ideas for podcasts. So thank you for that. I'm going to do more of this kind of thing. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, and just please post, comment, whatever, when this thing gets posted, I'll let you know in the group and the usual resources that I have. I'm very thankful that my Podbean, which is where my podcast lies, spreads and propagates to all the other podcast entities out there, from Apple to Amazon to iTunes to Spotify to wherever you're listening to this. I'm very much appreciative of that. I am currently updating the Patreon. I'm going to do more with that. YouTube is about to take on a whole new dimension. If you haven't subscribed to Bros for Life and things like that, a lot of content is coming, more video content as I finish the studio here. Plus, it's becoming winter in Alaska and got a lot of time on my hands. So anyway, I'll do another podcast about Alaska too. Thank you guys so much for being part of the group, part of this podcasting thing. I started it back in 2019 and it's grown to be something I actually really look forward to doing. So thank you for the questions and giving me the opportunity to speak to you in this way. Have a great day.